Okay, we're ready to try some more distributive property problems and make them a little bit tougher. Are you guys ready to try it? I know you can handle it. All right, when we last left off, we were looking at the distributive property here, and we decided that we needed to change the subtraction to adding the opposite. And then we went ahead and distributed 2 times c plus 2 times negative 7. And we wrote that out. We got 2c plus negative 14. And they're not like terms. They don't have the same variable, so we couldn't combine them. So we were done with that one. All right, let's do some more that are a little bit tougher in different ways and see if you guys can handle the changes. Right here, we've got this example. Now, these have brackets. Does that matter? Is that any different than parentheses that we've seen? No, it's the same. If you want to look at it as parentheses, you certainly could do that. It means the same thing. This one actually has 3 things inside of there. So let's see how we're going to handle that. Before we do anything else, can we change this subtraction? Get rid of that and make it adding the opposite plus a negative 11? Okay. All right. So when we look at how we're going to accomplish this and simplify this problem, we want to look at, can we do anything in the parentheses? Let's follow the order of operations. Can we do anything in there? Can we add b plus negative 11? No. Could we add negative 11 plus negative 7? Yeah. Why not? They're both just constants, right? They're both numbers. What's negative 11 plus negative 7? It gets more negative, so it takes us down to negative 18. And I'm going to bring down everything I didn't use. B plus negative 18, still the parentheses or the brackets around there. And in front of there is a 5 still. So all I did was combine those like terms, those constants, into a negative 18. Now, can we combine b plus negative 18? No, they're not like terms. So we need to find something else to do. Next in the order of operations, are there parentheses? Yes. Can we do anything in them? No. Exponents? No. Multiplication? Division? Multiplication right here, right? The 5's being multiplied. This is a case where, boom, we're going to have to use the distributive property. We're going to do 5 times b plus 5 times negative 18. Let's write that out. 5b plus 5 times negative 18. And let's see what that simplifies to. 5b just stays 5b. Can I multiply this? 5 times negative 18. I've got to use the distributive property in my head a little bit here. I know that a positive times a negative is definitely going to be a negative. Can I break this up into 10 and 8? 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 8 is 40. 50 and 40 is 90. So I've got 5b plus negative 90. Can I combine them? No, one's got to be, one doesn't. Not like terms, so guess what? We're done. Now, I want to show you something else. If you didn't catch right away that you could add these 2 constants, if you didn't see that right away, you actually could just still do the distributive property. I'm going to rewrite this off to the side. Can you take a minute and just rewrite this? 5 parentheses b plus negative 11 plus negative 7. And if we didn't see that we could actually add the negative 11 and negative 7, the distributive property will work even if there's more than 2 things inside the parentheses. You just take that 5 on the outside and you multiply it by everything. 5 times b plus 5 times negative 11 plus 5 times negative 7, and you do 3 different times. So you'd write it like this. 5 times b plus 5 times negative 11 plus 5 times negative 7. And that's going to end up giving us the exact same answer as down here. Can we finish it and see? These are easier multiplication ones to do. This would be negative 55. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. And now we can combine these 2. Negative 55 plus negative 35 gets more negative, gets down to negative 90. And isn't that the exact same answer? So, if you can, realize, hey, do what you can in the parentheses. But if you don't, you could use the distributive property on every single one of those and it will still work. Okay, so there was an example where there was more than 2 things inside the parentheses. Let's go on to the next one. Let's find example 6. This guy says we're going to simplify this one. Now, this is different because there's more going on. I'm going to zoom a little bit. More going on than just the distributive property. There's actually things being added to this, and this is the first time we've seen that. Are we ready to go ahead and add things together? Can I add this n plus those three n's? Well, I wish I could, but there's something stopping me, and that's this multiplication. I have to multiply before I can do any adding. So let's just follow the order of operations from the beginning. Are there parentheses? Yes. Can I do anything in them? 9 plus n, can I make that 9n? No, that would be 9 times n, so that doesn't work. So I can't do anything in there. Are there exponents? No. Is there multiplication or division? And yes, here's our multiplication. Boom, the distributive property. Let's do it. 2 times 9 plus 2 times n. 2 times 9 plus 2 times n. Can I just write 2n for 2 times n? And then let's make sure we bring down everything else. I want to ask you, why don't I do 2 times 3n right here for the distributive property? The answer is that the distributive property ends when the parentheses end. So if that parenthesis ends, I don't do any more multiplying across, no more distributing. But I do want to make sure I bring down my negative n, my plus, and my 3n. Okay. Am I ready to add things together yet? Not quite, because I still have some multiplying. Let's finish up that. What's 2 times 9? 18. Now, can I bring down everything else still? Negative n plus 2n, plus 3n. Awesome. All right. At this point, all that's left is adding. Adding. So I've got negative n's plus 2n's plus 3n's. Okay, so let's see. When we add up all those n's, negative 1, that's negative 1, right? Negative n is just negative 1n. Negative 1 plus 2 gives me 1. 1 plus 3 brings me up to 4 n's. And I bring down my plus 18. Can I combine those guys? Nope, I am done. All right, so we had to look at doing order of operations, getting distributive property done before we were able to do any combining like terms, but look what you did. Distributive property and combining like terms all in one problem. Now we're really combining all of our skills. All right, let's try this guy. This is kind of the same idea as the last one. We're going to have some distributive property and combining like terms. Let's see how it looks. Can we get rid of the subtraction? Yeah, let's change both of these subtractions right now to adding the opposite. This becomes plus negative. This becomes plus negative right there. Okay. Order of operations. Is there anything we can do inside the parentheses? No, that's a y. That doesn't have a y. It's constant. We can't add them together. Okay, no exponents. So multiplication, boom, right here, distributive property. Let's go ahead and do it. Negative 7 times 3y plus negative 7 times negative 1. Oh, there's a lot of negatives here. We better really be careful when we're writing this out so we don't lose any of them. Okay, negative 7 times 3y plus negative 7 times negative 1. Don't forget that negative 1 right there. Now remember, the parentheses ended, so my distributive property ends with the parentheses. So what do I do with all these things at the end? I just bring them down. Plus y plus negative 2. There's nothing else I can do with them, so I just add them on to the end until we're ready. Okay, we still have some multiplying to simplify, yeah? Can we go ahead and multiply those two things right now? Negative 7 times 3. Are we allowed to multiply that together? Negative 7 times 3y? Even though there's a y there and there isn't a y there? Yeah, it's multiplying. There's no rules for that. You just multiply everything together. So what is negative 7 times 3? Negative 21, and it's still times y. So we can still keep the y right there. What about this? Negative times a negative is a positive 7. We put a plus in between. And then we keep our plus y. We keep our plus negative 2. Any more multiplying? No. All we have left is plus, plus, plus. Guess what? We can combine some like terms now. We can add what we can add together. So let's see. I see some y's here, y's here. Negative 21y plus y. How many y's is that? That's just 1, right? Negative 21 plus 1. A negative plus a positive. I'm going to subtract them in my head. And that gives me 20. And since the 21 was negative, my answer is negative, right? Negative 20y's left. Can I combine anything else? What about those constants? What about this 7 and this -2? Can I combine those guys together? Oh, that's a bright orange. What's 7 plus -2? +5. So I get -20y plus 5. Can I combine those two together? Nope, this has a y, this doesn't. They're not like terms, so we are done. All right. Last one. This is about as tricky as I can make it right now. We're going to see if you guys can handle this. Before we start example 8, I just want to show you something. When we run into this at some point, we are going to have in here something that looks like this. X times x. Okay, we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. Is that going to be 2 x's? Well, 2x would be 2 times x. Is that the same as x times x? Not really. Let me give you a different example. What if you had 3 times 3? Couldn't I write that as 3 squared? Isn't 3 times 3 3 squared? So what's another way I could write x times x? Couldn't we say x squared? X times x is x squared. Keep that in mind when we do this example because you're going to run into that. And let's see if we can remember it when we get there. All right, we're going to simplify this guy. We've got some subtraction. Can we get rid of that first? Instead of subtracting, let's add -7y, and let's add -y. Okay, let's follow the order of operations. What can we do here? Are there parentheses? Yes, there are. Is there anything we can do inside the parentheses? X's and y's. Can we add them up? Nope. They're not like terms. So we can't do anything in there. Are there exponents? No. Is there multiplication? Yes. Boom. Distributive property. Now let's see what this is going to look like. This time we have a 6x on the outside. 6x times 6 times x plus 6x times -7y. And then the distributive property is going to end because our parentheses end. So let's see what that looks like if we write it out. 6x times what? Times x plus what? 6x times this whole -7y. -7y. Maybe I'll put the dot in between there. The parentheses end, so my distributive property ends. So I've still got all this hanging out there. What do I do with it? Just bring it down. We don't want to forget it, but it's not part of our distributive property yet. Okay. Ooh, looks like a lot of numbers and letters here. Let's look at it just for operations. Is there still any multiplying or dividing? Yeah, I see multiplying here and here. So let's deal with that and then see what we can do next. In this case, 6x times x. Well, 6 is the only number, so we just keep 6. And you remember what to do with the x times x? That goes right back to up here. X times x becomes what? X squared. X times x is x squared. We bring down our plus. Let's try this. Multiply these guys. Well, this one, they have two numbers, right? 6 times -7. What's that going to be? Positive times a negative is a -42. This time we don't have x times x. We have x times y. X times y, what's that going to become? Well, still x times y. xy. Do I have to write the dot in between? Nope. xy means x times y, so we put them both down there. Now we've got that multiplication done. Can we just copy down what we have still over here? We haven't used those yet. I might put parentheses around there just to separate that plus and the negative. Okay, now all that's left is adding, right? Adding, adding, adding. So we're ready to combine like terms. Let's see what we can combine. X squareds. Are there any other x squareds? No, there's x's. Are x's and x squareds the same thing? No, not in any way. So we can't combine those. We've got xy's. Any other xy's? No, we've got x's and we've got y's, but we don't have any xy's. Any other y's? Any other x's? No. Guess what? We're done. It might not look all that simplified, but it really is, because what did we get rid of? Up here, we got rid of the parentheses. That's one of the big powers of the distributive property, is it takes away those parentheses. It makes it more open for us to do more things with it when we turn these into equations next time. Okay, you guys are ready to try some on your own? Have fun, be awesome, boom.